In its final years, the Ottoman Empire was a place of incredible contradictions. On one hand, it was desperately trying to modernize its army with an alphabet built for radical clarity. But at the exact same time, it was building a secret organization to carry out its darkest work completely in the shadows. So, in this explainer, we're going to unravel this paradox, this strange dance between transparency and terror.
But before we get to the Ottomans, let's just step back and think about a problem that every single empire has had to face. How do you send a clear, fast, and reliable message across massive territories, especially when war is on the horizon? For thousands of years, empires got pretty creative. You had smoke signals like the ancient Chinese used along the Great Wall. You had fire beacons on towers, and yep, even pigeons carrying messages. These were, for all intents and purposes, the original information networks.
Okay, but fast forward to the early 20th century. The Ottoman Empire is on the brink of World War I, and it's facing a huge communication problem inside its own borders. But this time, the issue wasn't the smoke signals or the pigeons. No, it was the message itself. So what was the problem? Well, it was the script. The traditional Ottoman Turkish alphabet, which was based on Arabic script, was incredibly complex. This made it hard for people to become literate, and more importantly, it really slowed down the military. I mean, think about it. An order that can't be read quickly is a massive liability in a modern war. The solution, which came from the very ambitious Minister of War Enver Pasha, well, it was radical. He proposed a grand new writing system called Hurufe Munfasila, which literally translates to separate letters. The real genius of this new system was just how simple it was. It got rid of all the complex connecting shapes of the old script. So now, every single letter stood on its own, and every vowel was written out explicitly. The goal was crystal clear, unambiguous communication. It just made everything so much easier to read and to learn. It pretty quickly got the nickname the Army Alphabet, and Enver Pasha, using all his authority as Minister of War, ordered it to be used for everything. All military messages, maps, regulations, the whole shebang. He was trying to build a modern, efficient army, and he knew that had to start with a modern, efficient script. But here's the twist. Clarity for the army? That was only one part of the empire's survival plan. Because, while some messages needed to be read by everyone, other messages, they needed to be seen by absolutely no one. And this is where that push for radical clarity crashes right into an equal and opposite force, the need for absolute secrecy. And this contrast, this is really at the heart of the empire's whole strategy. You've got an alphabet designed for everyone to read on one side, and on the other, an organization designed for no one to even see. This was the Teshkilata Meksusa, or the Special Organization. It was an intelligence and paramilitary force that was so secret, its very existence was hidden from the public and even from parliament. It didn't answer to the military or the government. Nope. It answered directly and only to the ruling party. And we are not talking about a small group of spies here. At its peak, the special organization had around 30,000 members. That's basically a secret army operating completely in the shadows, totally outside the regular military's chain of command. The people in its ranks weren't regular soldiers either. They were a mix of fiercely loyal party members, allied tribesmen, and, this is the chilling part, thousands of hardened criminals. We're talking murderers and robbers who were offered pardons if they agreed to serve the state's secret agenda. The whole purpose of a force like this becomes terrifyingly clear when you read this quote from the historian Gerard Leberidian. He argues that it was designed to operate outside the laws of war, to serve the government's goal of extermination. This organization would go on to become a key tool in carrying out the state's darkest work, including its role in the Armenian genocide. So this is the really crucial point. These two completely opposite approaches to information, one of total clarity, the other of total secrecy, they were happening at the exact same time, and they were being pushed by the very same leadership. You can see how these strategies just unfolded in lockstep. As the empire was plunging into World War I, it was basically fighting on two fronts, a public one that demanded clear communication, and the shadow war that required a deniable secret force. This really reveals the immense pressure and the deep, deep contradictions of the late Ottoman Empire. Here you have a state caught between two worlds. It's fighting a modern war that demands efficiency and clarity,
But at the same time, it's pursuing these clandestine political goals that required total secrecy and plausible deniability. This dual approach to information isn't just some historical footnote. It leaves us with a final thought for our own world. How do modern governments navigate this exact same tension? The tension between the need for public transparency and the demands of national security and covert operations. The tools have certainly changed, but that fundamental dilemma, it's still with us.